Alright, so I'm going to use Annette and Matthew as an example here, because they're people that I know something a little bit about, and I think Matthew's a good guy. Not very many bad things to say about Matthew, and this isn't somehow an attack on him or anything like this, okay? So you have, Matthew is going to work, and this is how much money he earns, right? So what we say is, we tax all this, and we guarantee food and housing for the kids. So the kids can't be homeless, always have food. So we're saying it's possible for Matthew to, gamble away his money, and then the kids are suddenly homeless. I'm not saying that I believe that this will happen. I'm not saying that Matthew's the kind of person who's going to go gamble away all his money and then his kids have to be homeless, right? What I'm saying is, pretend that this would happen. Matthew gambles his money, it's gone, now the kids are homeless. So what we say, we automatically take a chunk out of Matthew's paycheck as the government, and we force that money to go to the housing. Now it's impossible for Matthew to gamble away his money and make the kids homeless. So this is the function of taxes. Okay, so I just described to you why this is why we tax and provide welfare. As I just described it. That is why we tax and provide welfare. So every time, I go back to that argument, I'm going to use an orange dot. So maybe go back and listen to it again if you don't remember what the argument is. So we're going to describe a couple of different scenarios. And I don't have an issue with Matthew, and I'm not using this as an attack. This is just, it's easiest for me to describe it in this way. So, let's say Matthew takes about, $800 out of the bank, and puts it in his wallet, and he's walking down the road, and some guy comes up and steals his money and runs away. And now the kids are homeless, right? This is why we tax and provide welfare. Because Matthew was taxed, and he only took $500 out of his paycheck. Only $500 was stolen. The $300 were automatically taxed and provide, and then the food stamp program and Section 8. So the kids can't be homeless. So it doesn't matter if Matthew messes up and withdraws too much money and gets robbed, because his kids are automatically provided for with food and housing. So Matthew can't make a mistake that will ruin his family because he's being taxed. Right? So let's say Matthew develops a cocaine addiction. Right? And half of his paycheck is gone from cocaine. Right? So, half of his paycheck is gone from cocaine, and he comes home with this, and now suddenly the kids are homeless. So what Corey says is, we're automatically going to tax, a percentage of Matthew's paycheck that is sufficient to always give the kids a place to live. So now when Matthew does a cocaine addiction and it takes out his paycheck, he's only hurting himself, and his kids still have a place to live. Make sense? So this is why we tax and provide welfare. Okay, the purpose is to help people. Okay? The purpose is to help. Provide safety. Make sense? That is the purpose. Okay? So this idea that so what's going to happen is, with these Trump tax cuts, the guaranteed housing for the kids is going to go away. So now this is possible. So if Matthew makes a mistake, he destroys his entire family. And this is the option we're going into. Okay, so if we reduce taxes, we are saying that we don't want to protect Annette's kids from Matthew's mistakes. And I'm not saying that he's going to do this. I don't think he's probably one of the less likely people, to do something like this. I knew, I've never heard Nettie say anything about, them not running out of money because Matthew bought something or that he didn't need or something, but I lived with Eric and there were a couple of times where he was short on rent because he bought too many drugs, things like that. So, I'm not saying that Matthew is going to be likely to do things like this, right? But if we're saying we want to reduce taxes and reduce welfare, what we're saying is we don't want to protect Annette's kids from Matthew's mistakes or from bad luck, of bad things happening to Matthew, like being robbed, right? So when we tax and we provide welfare, when we tax Matthew's paycheck and guarantee kids food and a place to live, it means we are protecting the kids, from Matthew's, mistakes. And you're saying that this is bad. You're saying we don't want to protect Matthew's kids from, these Republicans, they're saying we take these things away, we reduce taxes, and we say it's now possible for this to happen by cutting Section 8 funding, right? So what we say, as a Democratic legislator in the current, environment, I'm going to have this big square that is the paycheck of an average citizen. Okay, and over here we're going to say this is what he has to pay for to survive. This is his food, his housing, his healthcare. So as the government, we automatically tax the paycheck, and we force him. Okay, we force him to put it over here. Forced to have a place to live. Okay, forced to have food to eat. Forced to have health care. Okay, forced to, whatever else. So what happens when he gambles all this money away, he's still okay, because we took money out of his paycheck and we forced him to have a place to live. So this is a protection. Okay, so this protects people from their own mistakes. Okay, so what Republicans are saying, if you protect them, they won't spend as much money on the things we want to sell, instead of what they need to be safe. So they say, take away the protections and let this guy spend more money at my casino. This is like Trump. He's saying, Trump says, take away the protections, let him spend more money at my casino. And we're going to stop protecting them from their own mistakes, and we're going to allow Trump to manipulate and coerce all of the citizens into giving all of their money to him. And we're saying that this is good as a Republican.